All right, we're going to get started here. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here for our candidate forum, and thank you to the candidates for being here, taking the time out of your day to be here today. We really appreciate it. For those who don't know me, my name is Dan Pettit. I am the director here at the COA. I'm fortunate to work with such a great team here at the COA, and our goal is to make sure that every Concord resident who's 60 and older remain active, connected, not only with each other, but with the town. And that's what with forums like this, where you get to ask your questions directly to the candidates. And we're going to have it where if you have a question, when we get towards the end, if you raise your hand, I'll bring the mic to you. So the COA, as I said, we have a lot of great things to offer here. I think it's the only place in Concord where you can get a lunch for $3. That includes dessert and coffee. And that, if you're interested, Wednesdays at noon. We also have our newsletter, and all that information is also found on our website if you want to find out more about this, all the great things that we do here at the COA. We're also very grateful to have Nancy Brumback from the Sudbury League of Women Voters, right behind me here, as our moderator. Thank you for being here and helping guide today's conversation. Before we begin, I would like to review on how you can vote here in Concord, especially for those planning ahead with the upcoming election. First, you can vote in person here on Election Day, depending on what your precinct is. If you have a question about that, you can see any staff member here at the COA, and we're happy to help you. Second, you can vote by mail by requesting a ballot through the town clerk's office. Justine Donovan there she is, hello. From the town clerk's office is here, the election and census manager, and she is available to answer any questions that you may have. And third, many elections offer early in-person voting at Town Hall in the days leading up to Election Day. If you need any help, as I said, checking on what your, where your polling location is, or requesting a mail-in ballot, or arranging transportation on Election Day, reach out to us here, and the COA is here to help. Most importantly, we encourage everyone to participate and make your voice heard. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to this thoughtful and informative discussion. And I'll hand it over to Nancy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Can you hear me? Okay. I will add my welcome and ask you to please silence your cell phones now. You know, just to note, as Dan mentioned, I live in Sudbury. I don't vote in this election. I have no skin in this game. And for those who are watching this forum on television later, it was recorded on March 19th, so any relevant events that happen after that date will not be covered. The format for today is we will have a section for the two select board candidates. They will do 2-minute opening statements. There'll be a question and answer period, and they'll have closing statements. They will get up and go away, and the 3 uncontested candidates will come up. They will also give you a 2-minute opening statement. And then we'll have a question and answer period for the uncontested candidates as well. During these question and answer periods, when I'm taking questions from the audience, I'll ask you to raise your hand, and then please wait for someone to bring a mic to you. You will need a mic because if you don't use a mic, it doesn't get picked up on the cable TV recording. So don't talk without a mic. We are a little tight on time and want to cover as many questions as possible. So when you receive the mic, ask your question. Please do not begin with a long explanation or comments. I will interrupt you and ask you to ask your question if you do. For the select board section, we will ask the same question of both candidates. So your question must be suitable for both of them to answer. It cannot be directed to one candidate alone. We skip over questions that are directed to a single candidate. For the uncontested candidates portion, of course, you must state who the question is for, because you wouldn't ask the same question for the school committee as you do for the housing authority. You can, for that part, you can only ask one question of one candidate. You can't ask 3 questions with all 3 until everybody else has had a chance to ask a question. The questions I will ask are based on ones that were pre-submitted at the Senior Center. We have lots of questions in limited time, so if your question is not asked, we encourage you to talk to the candidates after the program. And now we will start with the Select Board open seat. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and we'll start with Dean Banfield for his 2 minutes statement. And there's a timer in the front row.
Thank you, Nancy. And thank you all for being here. This is a fabulous facility that the town has for the Council on Aging and all the activities that go on here. I'm Dean Banfield, and I moved to Concord in 1996 with my wife, Chris, and our 3 children. They've all gone through the Concord public school system and come out the other end as confident, independent adults. And I really have a lot to thank to the Concord school system for providing an excellent education. And I hope to continue having a great relationship between the Select Board and the school committee so that we can keep doing that for all the residents of Concord. I spent my career in financial services, providing software to the financial services industry. It was a rewarding career. I started as a small outfit in Waltham with one software development team, and by the time I finished my career, I had three teams in different places in the United States, internationally. So it was a quite varied experience as the software and digital age started merged over the course of my career. When my children reached approximately high school, I started to dig in to the Concord governance of the town and began to commit myself to doing public service within the community. I started it with the Natural Resources Commission, where I served for 5 years. I've also served on the CPC, and then I took a few years off and joined the Finance Committee, and that's where I got some of my most valuable experience at understanding the breadth of what the town of Concord does and the budgets, the underlying budgets that support that entire portfolio of activities for the town. I have now got the time and the energy to commit myself to doing the work at the Select Board level. It does require a lot, and I think that I can provide the underlying experience. So I look forward to seeing you voting. I'm supporting fiscal sustainability, environmental stewardship, and bring strength to our communities. All of our communities being a welcoming place. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Sam Hersteiner for 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here, to the council, to the league, again, for hosting us, and also take the time to thank my fellow candidates who, we've benefited from a very civil campaign and a civil exchange of ideas, and I think that really matters, particularly for someone who's in this for the first time. I have been here since 2001. I moved here with my wife and my growing family. Was absolutely a dream for us to be able to relocate here. And the experience that we have had with our kids growing through public schools has been extraordinary. And I feel very committed to giving back right now. In my professional life, I've spent over 25 years in public service professionally, too. All of the work that I've done in my career is about solving very human challenges. And for the last 15 years, I've been in leadership positions in the private and public sector, most recently as executive at an organization that promotes civic participation and education across the country. I've learned a lot in that time, and when you have to address very human and big challenges, you learn to be creative, you learn to be collaborative, you learn to try to have vision, and you learn to be optimistic about keeping in the fight to solve problems, and that is certainly something that I would bring to the work that we're talking about here today. In terms of my platform, I think the core of my candidacy is really a question that I want to reflect at all of you, which is, what would it mean if we opened the doors to leadership in this town, to fresh perspective, new creativity and ideas, and broader representation? There are a lot of people who are sitting on the sidelines who have those things in spades that could be brought to the challenges that we're facing. And I don't say that to sweep away, to sweep away anything that's been done or to usurp authority or anything like that. I think the most needed thing for this town right now is a generational coming together that can allow us to address the problems that we have in front of us and take advantage of the opportunities. So I want to focus on fiscal foresight and planning. I want to focus on thoughtful development, including around the transit hubs that we have here, which we'll talk about more later. I want to focus on modernizing our town government. So I look forward to the exchange of ideas today. Thank you all.
Thank you. Now we'll begin the question and answer period, and I'll alternate who goes first. I have prepared questions first, and then in about 20 minutes, we'll get to your questions. Each candidate has 90 seconds to respond to each question. The first question will start with Mr. Hirschsteiner, and it is, Concord is considering several major municipal facility decisions, including new public works campus at the MCI Concord property, upgrades or replacement of police headquarters, and changes to the fire department facilities. Some proposals also suggest purchasing a building for municipal offices and potentially selling some properties. How should Concord approach these major decisions, and how will you balance long-term infrastructure needs with fiscal responsibility and community priorities?
Thank you. The Planning Commission has brought forward some really powerful ideas, I think, on this front, and have been very pleased to see their sophisticated thinking about this. And I think at a broad level and at a high level, what I want to see happen here is balancing, the large spending needs that we have to get these things done. I think there's no question that many of these things need to be completed, with also maximizing the revenue that we can bring in so that we are not foisting yet more liability on our town's taxpayers. And I think there really is a way to do that. We have plenty of creativity, we have plenty of opportunity and space in our town to do this in a thoughtful and creative way. And I think what the land use working group has put forward has shown us that if we do this responsibly, if we have vision about it, we actually can do it in a way that will minimize the amount of cost that taxpayers will have to take on in town.
Thank you. Ms. Bedford.
I also am very pleased with the work that has been done by the Land Use Working Group. They're developing a very comprehensive framework for all the problems that we are facing. And they're also trying to grapple with the secondary problem of how do we pay for it. So I'm very pleased with the efforts that they're making. But one thing that I think I can reflect on is our experience as we've gone forward as a town in undertaking what looks like a very long arc of multiple projects that are out in front of us. We've struggled with this for the last 15 to 20 years. When we first started engaging with the school system renovations that we are now just on the verge of completing, we came up with a very large master plan, and it involved, a lot of moving parts. But in the end, we worked through each of those on an individual basis. We did not go for a very large and comprehensive process to engage with that. So I'm more in favor of developing such a plan, but using it just as a framework, and then taking a stab at the most important and high priority item and getting that on the table. I would hope to see a fire station for West Concord on the town meeting warrant for next year. It would just involve getting a feasibility study, and I don't think that we would have a shovel in the ground for 5 years. So that's my take on it.
Okay, the second question, we'll start with Mr. Banfield. How will you maintain services that many older adults rely on, such as transportation, public safety, and social services, especially if there's a budget shortfall?
Taking care of our seniors is one of the most important things that the community does. We've invested large amounts of money here in the Harvey Wheeler Center, and you can see it out front by all the work that's being done on that ramp. That's not an inexpensive ramp that's being put out in the front door. The support of our seniors is a core component of our budget process. I know that some seniors feel as though, 2/3 of our budget is spent on the school system, but a lot of seniors actually support having a nice, strong school system. So it's aligned with our community values of supporting all generations. And I don't anticipate a budget shortfall that would, in effect, pinch the COA or pinch our senior services. I think that our transportation facilities that we are offering for seniors are critical. They allow mobility, they allow aging in place, and we need to continue to support those things. I'm not looking for any way to find cuts for the senior services.
Thank you. Mr. Hirshheimer.
So I completely agree. I mean, I have heard a lot in this campaign because I've met with people across the spectrum about the social contract here and the fact that seniors are carrying much of the burden for my children to have a great education here, and that means a lot to me. It really does. And I'm part of the sandwich generation too, so I know what my parents are facing, my wife's parents are facing in terms of the pressures in front of us. I differ a little bit from Dean here. I am concerned about where our budget is going and what that's going to mean, not just for senior services, but for a lot of other things that we're looking at. And I feel a sense of optimism that if we do get more creative and we do bring more ideas to the table, we can figure out how to shore up our budget in ways that will give us a longer-term sustainable approach to making sure that we do protect services for COA. I also think that, Dean talked about, no grand vision, no grand bargain, no grand this or that. I really want to try to be a little bit more visionary than that. I think from the standpoint of development opportunities that we have and the way that they can strengthen our finances and create new opportunities, we have so many in front of us. We have a transit hub in West Concord. We have a transit hub in Concord Center. We need to really think about how do we do thoughtful development so that we strengthen finances over time and we're not having to constantly look at whether we're going to reach a shortfall, whether we have to be anxious about those things. I really feel optimistic about our ability to meet those challenges over time.
Thank you. The third question, we'll start with Mr. Hershimer. How will you ensure town government communication is accessible to residents who may not rely primarily on digital platforms?
That's a great question. I'll come at that in two ways. One of the planks of my campaign is that I think we can modernize our town government in so many different ways. And certainly technology is a big piece of that. So there's a lot to be fearful about some of the technology that's washing over our world right now. But when it comes to coordination, organization, and efficiency in government, I actually think that there are some really powerful tools that we could use right now to get those things, to make our government more efficient and make sure it can deliver more. I also think those tools can be put to bear to, as Dean said earlier, it takes a lot of time. I fully appreciate that. I'm ready to step up and spend that time too, but it doesn't have to take that much time if we can be more efficient about the way we run our government. I think in terms of people who are not relying on digital platforms, there's no easy way to do that. Even if you're able to watch on Minuteman Network, it means that if you've missed a meeting, you've got to spend 2 hours watching a video. So one of the ideas that I brought forward, and I just love, it's a little bit old school, but could we start another radio show or a video show that would allow us to be engaging people on a weekly basis about what's going on in town government? And could we just be a little bit more open and communicative and transparent about what's going on through those channels as well? So I would love to do that. That's the type of thing that feels fun to me. I think it reminds me of how important public media is and appreciate what the Bridge does in our town, but I think there are other channels that we can open up to make sure people feel more connected to how we're running the government and what we're trying to achieve.
Thank you.
I think I tend to agree with Sam that the way we're drifting in the community is towards more digital outreach. I actually fully appreciate his perspective on digital communication and making sure that people can connect that way. But with a population who is not necessarily digitally secure or comfortable with digital communications, newsletters, the Bridge, things that show up at your house are critical means of supporting, folks who are not necessarily digitally connected. One of the thoughts I had, and it will help the government of the town, is for the town to have a budgeted item where they have a reserved chunk of the Bridge. It doesn't have to be the back page where a real estate agent may want to show some properties, but a reserved chunk in the Bridge where government can use the Bridge as a tool to get its messages out. We have a lot of trouble staffing committees. We had a lot of success with a very small ad that just said we would like people to sign up for this committee or that committee, and we got responses. So for the town, it would be helpful if we had a chunk of an ad budget that would be in the Bridge. We don't want to turn it into a tool of the town, but it is a very powerful way of getting into everybody's mailbox. So that's one thing, and the use of the newsletter for the COA is another tool. Thank you.
Okay, after this question, I'm going to take questions from the audience, so get ready. This one starts with Mr. Banfield. What role should the town play in expanding affordable and downsizing-friendly housing options for older adults who wish to remain in Concord?
The town has about 5 distinct affordable housing entities in the town right now, and all of them collaborate in an affordable housing roundtable, and they each have their own role to play. I'm not going to go through them all in a 90-second thing. You can talk to Stephen Bader, who will give you an opportunity to talk to him about that. But the town has struggled to add units one by one by one. we have had a very large slice of land right near here over by the prison for about 8 years, 7 or 8 years now, and we've been unable to develop. It was given to us for free by the state, and we have been unable to develop any housing over there. It's really difficult to find the ways to do it. We've set up a platform in the Affordable Housing Trust to develop funds, and we have got stuff going through the legislature right now to try to find a way to have a real estate transfer tax that will constantly provide a stream of funding for the Affordable Housing Trust. And with money, you can do things. So hopefully that starts to build itself into a real pot of money that we can start to really energize and do work to create affordable housing. So
Thank you.
Yep.
My mind here goes in the direction of transportation-oriented development. We tend to talk about MCI as the big opportunity in front of us, but my vision over there is much bigger than just MCI. You look at the entire scope of space between MCI and West Concord, Main Street, and the Transit Hub train station that we have there, and you think about transit as something that transit-oriented development is something that would allow us to address a lot of the challenges we're facing. Multi-generational housing, clean, effective transit to different places from those hubs, affordable housing, senior restricted housing, that when you think big about what's possible in those places, from my point of view, you see opportunity to do things that really go beyond just one site like MCI Concord. So I feel very, again, optimistic and energetic about that. I also think when you think about Concord Center, there have been ideas that have been put forth that, unfortunately didn't move forward, but there's also a transit hub there. Thoreau Plaza is something that I think we should try to revisit because there were some great opportunities for mixed-use development there. And again, that ends up being a hub that can bring different types of people here, that can give people different levels of ability to be part of our town and part of this community and add to it. And to me, that takes, again, what I said, fresh perspective and creativity and a belief that we have what we need here to make the most use of those opportunities.
Thank you. Now, does anyone in the audience have a question?
What are your plans for saving the two mansions at the prison and the fountain and the one remaining house?
On Commonwealth?
And this will start with Mr. Hershiser.
Okay.
Mr. Steiner. So,
They should be restored and they're historic. That area is where thousands of troops bivouacked with thousands of horses marching to the war.
thank you.
Thank you for that question. I can't say that I know specifically much about those issues, something that I'm learning about, but I do feel pretty strongly that whatever happens at MCI Concord and the development that occurs there needs to also appreciate what that site has meant over time, the struggle that you're talking about in terms of service, incarceration, and what that means for people's lives. So I think there could be some creative ways to look at that, not just in terms of plaques, but also could we, for example, attract businesses there that might hire and help people who've been incarcerated build new lives and become contributors to their communities. So I think there is some very good opportunities to do that, and have talked to people in town who have creative ideas there as well.
Mr. Bennett.
So on the mansion that sits out on Route 2, the CPC funded a high school student several years ago to renovate the fountain out in front, and it got renovated. It got sent off to be renovated, and it was completely renovated, and it's fallen back into disrepair. So I find that to be really unfortunate. I feel as though that mansion can be saved. I'm not as convinced that there's that importance on the Commonwealth, on the house that remains on Commonwealth. That doesn't have that much personal appeal to me to try to work to save, but that official residence piece of the Concord MCI that's sitting there, that is historic, that I think ought to be saved.
Thank you. Let me see if there are any other questions first. Anyway, other questions?
Yes. Last Sunday, I attended the Welcome to Concord Committee's meeting just before one of these happened. And I looked at all the committees, and I couldn't figure out who was really, what formal assignment that the website, the town's website, went under. And every time I go on that damn thing, I can't find what I'm looking for. Never mind, it's not even formatted correctly. And to me, what you're talking about, engaging people, 80% or more of it is being able to put your finger on something quickly and know who's really caring about it and go talk to them. It's just a mess trying to find who's doing what, wasting a lot of time and effort. Who is going to really shape that website up so that it works? It's got teeth in it. It's got energy.
Let them answer the question. Mr. Banville.
I'll try to provide you a kernel of good news. The town manager has been working on a rework of the town's website, and my understanding of that is that it is currently being demonstrated within the town staff right now and being circulated within the town staff as a revision. She's doing it in a two-step process. One is, a modest renovation and then a more major one. And I think we're going to go with step one first and then go to a much bigger one. But I completely agree with you. The town requires a real hub where people can get information quickly, but also as a vehicle for the town to engage and push out information that residents need to know. If you're always adapted to coming to that, if it's on the browser bar in your browser and you're coming to the Concord website, you may find out about something that a committee is working on that needs your input. And they may be seeking your input, and they need a vehicle to push out those requests where they want to engage the public and get feedback. Things like the cell phone tower that was being sent out for RFP over at Rideout Playground went without any kind of output coming out from the town and getting feedback from the community, and got an immediate pushback. Who even asked us? So we need to have a two-way conversation through that website when we get something really up and robust.
Mr. Hersteiner.
That doesn't feel like enough to me. I think that what you're pointing at is not just a website, it's the efficiency of government overall and the transparency of government overall. And when I say fresh perspective, new creativity and ideas and broader representation in the way we're leading our town, that means bringing people who are in the midst of emerging technology and who know how to use what's changing in our world to really lean into the idea of efficiency. That's really what I mean. And I have mentioned this before, but I think about Drew Magliozzi, who you're going to hear from in just a minute. He is a 25-year tech executive who's going to be joining a schools committee that needs his expertise right now. And I think I can also bring that level of creativity and ideas to the select board level. And it's really about what happens on the back end too. I mean, when we have 64 town committees, and what I'm hearing from people on the trail is that many folks are getting surprised by things on a regular basis. We've got to figure out an operating system that can knit those things together and increase transparency. And we absolutely have the tools now to do those things. So I think it's time. And this is not to be pejorative about what the town is trying to do to update the website, but we need to go much, much further than that. Technology is just moving far faster than that for us right now.
Thank you. Another question? And then you.
I'd like to know what each of you feel about the talk of selling this building and moving the seniors over to some far-off place where they can't walk to get here, where they can't walk to the library, or they can't walk downtown. So I'd like to know where you stand on this issue which has been brought up.
Start with Mr. Hershiner.
Thank you for that. My take on that is I can't be supportive of that until I know more about it. But the way that I look at it is not just about how much this building serves seniors, because my two kids, my youngest, have also attended Kaleidoscope on the other side of that wall. And what a great environment that was for them to be in. They loved it here, and they still think about the teachers and others that they met here, and also that they were able to be in proximity and adjacent to a place that's so meaningful to the town and to seniors. So I would hate for that to happen. If it was going to happen, it would need to come with a replacement that's equally as accessible and usable and effective and efficient for seniors in this town.
I'll be a little more definitive. I don't think the town should part ways with the Harvey Wheeler Center. It's a historic building. It's invested an enormous amount of money in bringing it up to where it is now. And it has a little bit farther to go. The kitchen needs work. It's not up to code for the health department for the amount of use that it gets. We serve meals here once a week. It's it's an important element of this building. But I don't see any other use for a historic building with a clock tower that someone could put to it. So it's a beautiful building, and the town has invested an enormous amount in it. And I don't see a meaningful way forward in which we would unload this and have the seniors go elsewhere.
Thank you. Dan, there was a question in the back last time.
Thank you. It's no surprise that it's harder for seniors to stay in town, higher budgets, taxes. How would you vote on the decision for keeping or repealing the RTE?
I think we need to repeat that question. I didn't quite catch it.
That was, the question was, how would you vote on keeping or repealing the RTE?
Okay. And start with Mr. Banfield.
On the RTE, right now, I believe it's helping the people that the select board has targeted it at. It's a little bit inefficient in that it's providing a benefit to people who don't need the benefit, but for the people that the select board was looking to help, it is helping. There may be some adjustments where we can offer additional programs that are available at the state level for seniors. There are very few, if any, other programs that we can help people below, say, 65, 50, down in lower age ranges. So the RTE is probably here to stay, and I'm on board with that. Adjustments will probably be made, and I would be looking forward to seeing what kinds of adjustments we can make to some of our senior means tested or other senior-focused programs. So that's my take on it.
Mr. Hersheimer.
Yep, I have been attending the RTE task force meetings, and I'm eager to see what their full report recommends, for sure. The sad truth from the way that I look at it a little bit from the outside is that the spirit of what the RTE wants to achieve is something that I am completely supportive of, no doubt about it. We want people to be able to stay here and to continue to enjoy and contribute to this town. But for every senior that's having trouble staying in their homes and relying on the RTE, we also have people in my generation who, for example, are about ready to put kids in college and are seeing higher taxes and are feeling the same levels of concern. And that, to me, is a sign that this has not been policy that has been made as thoughtfully or creatively as it needs to have been made. And so I think the only way to alleviate the broader challenges that you're talking about are through the visionary plans that I think I've talked about already. We need to have better fiscal foresight and planning. We need to take development seriously so that we can broaden and diversify our tax base. We need to be more efficient about government, and we need to have creativity and optimism that we can actually take care of cost of living issues here without blunt instruments like the RTE. So if it comes up the next time around, I really want to rely on what the task force and Ellen Quackenbush and her really committed group of folks will recommend, but I think I need to see all of that and digest all of it before I can make a full decision on it, because I'm new to this process and it's something that I'm continuing to learn about.
Okay, I think we have time for 2 more questions. Anybody?
I'm wondering what both of you feel in terms of keeping the cultural and, for lack of a better word, the charm of Concord that makes it a desirable place to be able to walk and enjoy all the natural and art events that we enjoy here. So I'm just wondering, when I hear development and all of that, I think of saving money and sometimes irresponsible development. So I'm wondering how devoted you are to keeping Concord the place that it has always been.
Thank you. Mr. Hersteiner.
Thank you for that question. That has come up a lot, I think, as I've been out speaking with people. What you're talking about is why a lot of people want to move here, and it really leads me in the direction of the opportunity that we have to move forward and be future-oriented about this town. The fact that we have an opportunity to grow at all is something that I wish we took more seriously, because towns like ours all across the Commonwealth and the country are looking at themselves facing long-term decline, attrition of students in their schools, people not being able to afford and moving out of town, commercial cores hollowing out. If that's the direction we go in, we're going to have a lot more challenges in terms of protecting cultural institutions and appreciating our history and making sure that all those, what I would call the humanities are available for people here in town. So again, I think we have the creativity and the expertise here to do thoughtful development and to think about not just the charm and historic significance of Concord Center, but also the vibrancy and the welcoming nature and the possibilities of West Concord and West Concord Main Street. That to me feels like a holistic, vibrant town where all the things you're talking about are not really just about protecting what has been here in the past, but building new opportunities for the arts and for welcoming new types of people and all the other things that I think make people love living in a town like this. I think we can be a model of that type of development.
Thank you, Mr. Banfield.
I believe the town in its governance has included some new components. We talk about having 65 committees, but 2 of them are the West Concord Cultural Council and the Cultural Council that manages the other side of town. They have a very limited grant-making function, but they really help energize some of the things that happen on our streets and in the communities. We just had a wonderful celebration of lanterns that went on the other side of town. We have the Emerson umbrella over there. We have Art for All that Margot Kimball is just absolutely a gem at promoting, that has provided the murals and all of the lovely stuff that goes on here. We have the Porch Fest on this side of town. So I see that as being a key component of having this town become a livable and wonderful community to walk through and be a part of. I don't see having us increase traffic, increase the use of cars as being helpful. And right now we're living in a car-based world, and so more development automatically means more cars. We can create creative ideas about how to create new development, but every time we try, there's always the need to find a place to put a car. Over on the other side of town, we tried to have a mixed-use development that went in where Crosby's Market, not Crosby's, Concord Center Market went in. It was supposed to be retail on the bottom floor and living above. We could not solve it because we could not solve the parking problem. So it is a problem that I think we have to constantly work at to get to the bottom of.
Do we have one more question for the group before we go on?
Yeah, my question goes towards, we have all these beautiful schools that are only open for short periods of time every day, and are, except for maybe the high school, most of the elementary schools and the middle schools are empty for like after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're always crowding these public meetings in small spaces when we have auditoriums in all these buildings now and big gymnasiums. Why are we not utilizing these spaces more? And if you want to use them as a neighborhood, you have to pay enormous amount of money to rent them because you have to have 4 police officers, cleaning service.
Let me get your
It seems like a
question.
waste of space.
And Mr. Banfield.
This is a bit of a bugaboo of mine. The school administration has pretty significant fee structure. If you want to have a school opened for a non-school purpose, you have to pay a custodian for a multi-hour overtime shift. You have to pay, numerous fees. It's an expensive proposition. These are town buildings, but they are managed and run by the school committee. So it would be helpful, and it's been my position for a long time, that that fee structure needs to become aligned with the community itself. It's kept us out of basketball courts and out of auditoriums. I completely agree with what you're saying. These spaces they're difficult for us to use, and I fully appreciate that.
Mr. Hersteiner.
I would defer a little bit to the schools committee to answer some of those core questions because they're the decision-making body. I actually experience with my kids in school at Alcott that we do use these things a little bit more than you might have suggested there for arts performances and other things that actually do serve kids in the community. So whether we could change the fee structure and make it a little more easy for the public to use those things, that's certainly something that I think we should look into. But I think public spaces really matter in that respect. I would not want us to see us always having to crowd into small spaces when we have so many beautiful spaces to use across town.
Thank you all for your thoughtful and concise questions. And now we go to the 1-minute closing statements from the candidates in reverse order from the opening statements. So we start with Mr. Hersteiner.
So as you've heard me say today, I am an optimist and I am a pragmatist and a pluralist, and I have really high hopes for what we can do in this community moving forward, not what we cannot do. I think the central premise that I want you all to consider is that there's not been one meeting that I have had during this campaign where somebody hasn't said to me, why isn't your generation coming off the sidelines? My concern about what has happened here is that people are asking, what committees have you served on? Who do you know? Where have you been? Rather than what good ideas do you have? What good experience do you have? And what can you bring to the table? And so again, the core premise and the core question I reflect at you is, what would it mean if we opened up town leadership to a lot of really good creative talent and good people and energetic ideas that are waiting on the sidelines and really looking for themselves to be reflected in leadership so they can have participation to join? And that really is what I would leave you with. I think that's going to be a central thing that I really encourage you all to think about as you're about to go to the polls. Thank you so much for hosting us, and please, please vote and spread the word about voting in your communities. I know you will. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Banfield.
Well, thank you all for coming, and I just want to say that for this community, I've just been digging in since about 2010. I've been serving the community. I continue to look for ways in which the community can be a better place to live, a better place and reach its highest ideals. And right now, I feel as though my place to do that is on the select board. I'm running because I feel as though we need a fiscally responsible platform. We need to be very careful about how we're spending our money because we have seen these taxes going up and up. I personally, and basically my brand is environmental stewardship. I've been on this bandwagon since forever, and I want to make sure that as we move forward, we're doing what we can to be a sustainable and continuing to make sure that we're protecting the environment. And as I have tried to say since the get-go, we need to be a welcoming and careful community with all of our people and try to bat back any of the bias and hate that we have seen. Thank you.
Thank you both. I'm going to ask the round of applause for the candidates. And now I'd ask the 3 candidates in uncontested races if they would come up. No, it doesn't matter. And you might want to, if you want to pour yourself some water, in case you start coughing.
Oh, you're using one? Oh, for it.
Okay, so while these 3 candidates, well, I've got it. But thank you.
Oh, Stephanie.
Okay, so while these 3 candidates are running unopposed, we thought it was important for them to, while these 3 candidates are running unopposed, we thought it was important for them to talk to you a little bit and to take a couple of your questions. So the candidates, the uncontested candidates are Carlin Reed for Town Moderator, Stefan Bader for Housing Authority, and Andrew Magliazzi for School Committee. I may just go first names instead of trying instead of risking Magliazzi one more time. So each candidate is going to give you a 2-minute statement about themselves and the office they're seeking. And we'll start with Andrew.
Thank you. Y'all can call me Drew. My friends call me Drew. My career started, 20 some odd years ago. And for the whole time, I've been a CEO of ed tech companies, both for-profit and nonprofit. Have also served on several boards, both for-profit and nonprofit, and have dedicated my entire career to helping close achievement gaps for first-generation, low-income, historically resilient populations. Most notably with my current company, which, oh gosh, I mean, as I reflect on the last decade, we've reached a little over 20 million students across America, and have done a bunch of research and proven pretty definitively that I can confidently say that there are probably 200,000 people in the United States of America who hold a college degree because the company existed. And now I've stepped aside, I've handed the reins of leadership, and I'm looking forward to bringing impact a little closer to home, or maybe as close to home as humanly possible. My wife and I moved to Concord a little over 5 years ago. We have 2 kids in the schools. We love this town. I grew up in Arlington. She grew up in Lincoln. This place is the perfect combination of nature and civilization. And the schools are absolutely extraordinary. Anyone with kids can tell you that. And also, I'm a huge believer that rather than great schools, I aspire to having a school system that gets better every day for every single student it serves. And I think there are some ways that we can do that with strategic investments, and some things that may not cost any money at all, but just require a reimagining and a different approach to how we serve the students in our community, and make sure that every student, even those that don't live in Concord, are served equally. So that's what I stand for. Thank you very much. Please get out the vote. All I need is one, but it's important. It's important to get people showing up at the polls. So thank you.
And now Stefan for Housing Authority.
Thank you. Stefan Bader. I'm running for the commissioner seat on the Housing Authority Board. I'm the only incumbent on this year's ballot. I ran 5 years ago. I was nominated during the infamous COVID campaign, where the town caucus was out in the Harvey Wheeler parking lot, and people voted yes by flashing their headlights. Some of you may remember that incident. So 5 years in, I've gone through the learning curve on the Housing Authority, although even before I got to the Housing Authority Board, I did have a career in public accounting and financial management, many years of which were in one way or another related to real estate, either commercial development, mortgage finance, state government in the housing sector. So I feel that I bring that experience to the Housing Authority Board, and I look and I see actually 2 of my board colleagues here in the room today, and they bring other experience. And we've got an architect, we've got a healthcare manager who knows about systems and things that I don't know about. And the board takes action together. It takes all 5 of us to vote. We might not always agree, generally we do, but it takes all 5 together. No one commissioner can go off and do things on their own. So I think we've got a good board now. I'd like to continue, and I'm asking you to vote for me again. And like Drew, you know, a few hundred votes would be nice. And while I haven't run out of time just yet, I'm going to give a shout out again to Justine here, because not only can she help you with answer questions, she's got vote by mail forms, registration forms if you need to change your registration. If you moved recently, see Justine. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Carlin Reed for Town Moderator.
Hi, I'm Carlin. I'm running for Town Moderator. And as you know, our current Town Moderator has chosen not to renew her stance. She's been there for 10 years, so I have some big shoes to fill. But I think I can do it. I might wear boots more so than shoes, but I can do it. I'm an attorney, and I've been retired for about 10 years. Moved here in Concord in 2009 with my husband and my son, primarily because of the schools, but also because of the roads. Because I noticed that our Public Works Department took really good care of clearing away the snow and ice on January 28, 2009, which is when I looked at our house here in Concord. Now, in addition to being an attorney retired, I volunteer here at the Concord Council on Aging. I'm one of the tax AARP tax aides, so I do people taxes for low-income seniors downstairs. I did some this morning for 3 hours. And I'm also on the Finance Committee. Right now, I'm the clerk. I'm finishing my 3rd year, which means I've had to understand how our town's finances run. what the money, where the money is and where it goes and what we can and cannot afford right now or later. So those are, appointing the finance committee is one of the jobs of the town moderator. The other is standing up in front of town meeting and managing the floor debate and all the many steps leading up to that time so that you have a comfortable opportunity to see, hear, and understand what's going on at town meeting. So please vote for me. I've already voted for myself, by the way, by mail, so I know I've 2 for my husband.
Early bird.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will ask each of them a question that was submitted by people from the senior to the senior center in advance, and then we'll let you guys have a chance at questions to them. So the question to Drew from the school board from people in the senior center was, and you might predict this one, how will you manage rising school costs while being mindful of the impact of property taxes, particularly for residents on fixed incomes?
Well, first of all, thank you all for funding the construction of several new schools in town, most recently the Ellen Garrison building. Took all of us. We do have some big challenges coming forward in terms of finances. Obviously, we have to pay for infrastructure in town, and we have to continue to fund great schools. It is going to require some creative looking at the budget, I imagine, as we go forward, and some trade-offs as we weigh other capital projects that probably are coming down the pipeline and ways we might want to fund them. I do recognize that the cost per pupil is among the highest in all of Massachusetts here in Concord. And that's one of the things that makes our school incredibly well-resourced and strong. And it's also something that we need to pay careful attention to. And as I said, not all things that make schools great cost money. In fact, the culture of innovation, of support, and sometimes the best resources are the ones that come from within the schools and even the student body. So I think it requires us to get creative, to look at all options, and to not necessarily turn to investing more money as the only answer when we want to keep the schools to stay on the track that they've always been on. So, yeah.
Thank you. And now for Carlin. How do you ensure town meeting procedures are accessible and understandable for older residents?
That's a really good question. Making sure that it's available in a hard copy format as well as a digital format, but also making sure that seniors and others know how to access that information before town meeting, during town meeting, and then in recaps. It's been really nice that the Bridge has been gracious enough to put the warrant in the format so that that is delivered to every household. We're going to have a briefing book again this year, like we did last year, that will have the warrants, the Finance Committee recommendation, and other committees' supplementary information that'll be delivered to every household and will be posted online. And if you have some problems or you have some questions, well, I'm here. I'm always ready to answer questions and to help folks with whatever they need to do so that they understand what town meeting is about and they can access the materials.
Okay, thank you. And Stefan, your question, what is your vision for expanding or preserving housing options that allow older adults to age in place in Concord?
I think that the housing situation in Concord needs to be a wide and diverse array of options that range everywhere from a one-bedroom apartment to cooperative living like the Peter Bulkley House. What's the one I'm thinking of? Peter Bulkley House. To senior housing, to in-law apartments, ADUs, maybe on a property with a stranger, maybe on a property with your children. Not everybody needs a 6,000 square foot house. Not everybody needs a 750 square foot ADU, but the choices have to be there. What the Housing Authority does is we have 243 homes that we manage, that we take care of. We're the landlord. We do the maintenance, we find the tenants, we bring them in, we check their income every year. That's what we do. But we work, as has been mentioned before, tightly with the other members of the Housing Roundtable. And between the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust and the Housing Development Corporation and the other participants, we all know that this is where we want to go, and that's the direction we're moving in.
Thank you. Questions for these candidates? I would remind you, you have to say who the question is for, and please only ask one question of one candidate until other people have had a chance. So you can't ask 3 questions of 3 candidates. Anybody have a question for any of these candidates? Nobody for school committee?
Andrea raised her hand.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Ringer.
Question is for Carlin. How might a town moderator help a citizen write a petition for town meeting that is meaningful and results in the changes that that petitioner would like to see?
Okay, this involves citizen petitions at town meeting. I'm going to broaden that a little bit to mean any type of warrant article or concept that a citizen might want to advance. Citizen petitions are a little bit different because they have a little more time necessarily to think about what they want to say. As town moderator, I would encourage anyone who has an idea like that to come talk to me with their proposed text, their ideas, and I won't tell them what to say. That's not my job. My job is to be impartial and fair and straight down the line and give everybody a chance to do what they want to do. But to say, well, did you talk to Public Works? Did you talk to the light plant? Did you talk to the Disabilities Commission about how this would impact them? So to guide them to consider the impacts of what they're doing and also help them with the wording. So more as a resource, in addition to when it's actually comes time to call on people who are standing in line to talk, allow the citizen petition to proceed smoothly and as efficiently. And that really does also apply to the town staff, who are also responsible for doing the warrant articles and giving their presentations as well. So act as a resource.
Next question up here. Dan, do we have one here? We'll get you next. I have one up the front, Dan, if you can't find some.
He needs exercise.
My question is for Drew. We obviously in this town have seen incidents of hate and bias and things that are incredibly challenging for a community to confront. I think I personally have been encouraged by what action we've seen the select board take, what action we've seen the hate and bias reporting group take, what action we've seen the DEI commission take. I would really like to hear from you about what bottom-up action we can take in the schools and what ideas you have for helping our kids build civic virtue. And if our kids can build stronger civic virtue, certainly all of us can. So would be interested how you would work the members of your committee and also with the school leadership to advance some ideas that can really help us do that. And I think it's not just about addressing hate and bias. I think it's about helping them build the skills to navigate a world that is changing so fast. So would love to hear your creative ideas there.
Thanks, Sam. Speaking in unarguable truths, we now know that our town has more incidents of hate and bias than all the rest of Middlesex County. This could mean many things, but it is worthy of investigation. And while no one wants this to be true, I think one of the most powerful things we can do as leaders on the committee is lean in, ask really the hard questions, and not take anything but deep, thoughtful answers as acceptable. And I think that answers have to come and truth has to come not just from the leadership of the schools, but also the students and families themselves who've been affected by this. I think one of the best things that's been done was actually after the anti-Semitism case from the ADL, there was a forum held in town meeting to allow people to share their stories of anti-Semitism. And I think we could also create a similar safe space in the school committee. But when it comes to what can be done on the bottom up, there are only a few things that really are truly effective. And I think the one that I think is particularly has the most potential is active bystander training, I think particularly for the students and also the educators, so we know what to do when we witness something that we object to. Yeah, thanks for asking the question, Sam.
Thank
No
you.
easy answers.
Are there any other questions? Here we go.
This question is for Carlin. This is a pretty big town, and it's interesting to see at the town meetings when there are particularly issues of interest to certain groups. As the issue is decided, half the auditorium empties. So it strikes me as interesting that there are some major decisions being made by less than 1,000 people in this town. I'd be curious to know if there's anything being considered to deal with that.
Couple things. First, perspectives. People come to town meeting because they find some article or some topic interesting to them. So they're acting on their own self-interest to find out more, to be able to speak, to be able to vote. So the best way to get more people to come is to get your neighbor to come with you. So I would encourage everyone here to ask a friend or a relative to come with them to town meeting, because that's one way that we can increase the participation, but also make folks realize that what we do here really does impact them, and they have a chance to have a voice. That's one thing. We have pending before the state legislative session right now, 3 bills dealing with remote participation. There are some issues to be worked through that. We passed a warrant article last year, 195 to 100, in favor of remote participation, being able to vote from home and watch from home, basically. But there's things to be worked out. And I understand that the vote might be, the legislation may be reintroduced this year. I know Ravi Simon, who is running for office, is hot on that particular approach. He's here in the audience, by the way. And I've talked to him about it, and it's possible that Concord could become a pilot town to explore that possibility with all the ramifications of that. So that's a second way that we might be able to increase participation. But the important thing is find something that you like and bring your neighbor, bring a friend, and vote, and come to town meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question? There was another one. Yes.
Yes, this is a question for Drew. On the school committee, there have been times when it has seemed like certain people on the school committee felt like they were there to serve the superintendent in a loyal sort of way. And I wonder how you would balance the needs of the students and the interests of the parents and the townspeople who actually the schools are serving as well, with the superintendent's desires, and how do you make it all work together?
That's a nice broad question for 90 seconds.
Have fun with that one.
In terms of my own philosophy, I'm a huge believer in servant leadership, and my leadership is in service to the students in schools and helping them get increasingly better outcomes and listening to the needs of the families and the constituents who vote for me, and not just those with students in the schools, but everybody. And the goal of the committee, in my estimation, the most vibrant possible school committee is one that is able to really get in and grapple with the issues. And frankly, have these fulsome debates, even in cases where everyone is unanimously voting together. It's important to voice all the angles and perspectives as well as we possibly can, so that the citizenry in an open meeting can see the sausage being made. And I think there have been some opportunities that could have been done better. And I can't say about my fellow committee members, but I typically approach things with everyone is doing the best job they possibly can. And I'm going to always ask the curious questions and hopefully prompt some of that lively debate among my fellow committee members. Hopefully, I can be a key part of spurring some of the conversation that maybe you're looking for. And I am only one vote, but I am certainly a loud voice.
Thank you. Take maybe two more questions. There's one here.
Hi, my question's for Stefan Bader about the Concord Housing Authority. I understand that there are over 250 independent housing authorities in Massachusetts. We're just one of them. And they all hurt for funding to keep up their infrastructure. I'm curious to know for CHA how the board is involved in finding and implementing money to service the housing, the infrastructure that exists now, and if you can actually keep up with what is needed, or what are the the problems you encounter in doing just that? And do you think you've done a good job doing that? I mean, how would you, on a report card, A to F for CHA, have you done that?
Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you for that question, Doris. Actually, you set this up nicely, and then we didn't talk in advance, just want to make that clear. The Housing Authority boards, our biggest and frankly most important job is hiring, firing, evaluating the executive director. And I think I wasn't on the board at the time, I came on a few months later, but I think we made a great choice with hiring Jennifer Polito 5 years ago. And the reason I say that and how that's relevant to your question is she has done an extraordinary job in getting Concord more money for more projects where we are hitting it out of the park in terms of the dollars coming in for the size of our authority. Between the money that we get for the air source heat pumps, between the money we're getting for the fire sprinkler retrofit, and lots of other projects, granted, that's inconvenient for the residents, no question about that. But they're coming out with a safer, more ecologically sound environment to live in. And so it is also possible to get earmarks through state legislators. That's harder to make sure that it goes all the way through and doesn't get cut out by some conference committee at the last hour. But I would say that based on our track record over the 5 years, we've done a really good job getting money for the housing authority that other housing authorities have not received.
Thank you. Do we have one more question, or shall we wind this up? Okay, I particularly want to thank the uncontested candidates because they don't necessarily have to be here, and I appreciate them coming and talking to you. I particularly thank the select board candidates because it's important to hear what candidates in contested races have to say. And I particularly thank all of them for being willing to run and to serve the community, because that's how democracy happens. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Dan to close it up.
Sure. Thank you, Nancy, for being a moderator. You always do a great job, and we really appreciate you being here today. Thank you to all the candidates, and also thank you to all of you for being here.